Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of 12 Monkeys. And this is a JKL media production. We're looking at the third season of the series, and we're down to, after this episode, the last episode of season 3, which is happy, sad for me. But for this episode, we'll be talking 4 episodes, episodes 6 through 9, and that is Nature, Nurture, Masks, and Thief. And stuff happens as it is wont to do with this show. And we're starting to see some nice and bittersweet callbacks for certain characters. And again, some really fun stuff, some really poignant stuff. One of the episodes has got a real Victorian, almost Edgar Allan Poe vibe to it that I really enjoyed. And we get a special guest that I was not aware of, and I don't think either of my co-hosts were, that just blew my socks off, and I think it's a perfect bit of casting for that particular character. But anyhow, we shall get into all that and more. And let me introduce my co-host, which I have forgotten to do up to this point. And I'll start with Karen. Hello, Karen. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good. Can't wait to talk about these.
X. And Jesse.
Yes.
The very short Jesse.
Yeah, very short. My camera keeps moving. We aren't going to talk appetizers. We're going to talk starters. Which anytime someone hears that, I hear that when it's on Ted Lasso, I always smile.
Yeah,
because
very
in
British.
America, yeah, it's not in here. It's appetizers, not starters. And I think starters sounds so much better.
It's better. I actually say it because I watched the Great British Bake Off, and they say starters when they talk about appetizers on there. So
very cool. Yeah, these episodes had a very British vibe to them overall, except for Nature, which was back in the 1950s, and we reunite with Agent Gale. But before we get into that, I'm going to ask you both, Karen, I'll start with you, that tough question. 4 episodes, who was the MVP for you in these 4 episodes?
Oh, I should have brought this. I don't know. He was only in 2 episodes. I might say Ethan. I might.
Okay.
He was really good in these. But also, I think Eliza was a standout in this. And Jennifer as well. And we only got her in a little bit as well.
Okay.
Per episode.
Yeah.
Jennifer, Ethan, Eliza.
Okay. Jesse, you're muted.
It's just hard not to give to Jennifer. She just is so good in this. I love her. And the scenes where there's 3 Jennifers, the captive Jennifer, the elder Jennifer, and the young Jennifer all talking is...
She calls them Three-Face.
Yeah.
It's Two-Face.
Yeah, it's just so good. And I also think Katerina had some nice scenes where she says you were instrumental in helping my daughter, making some tough decisions. Gosh, and boy has, why am I drawing a blank? Deacon has had a fascinating character arc. So I'm going Jennifer though. I love Jennifer so much. So yeah, that's going to be my MVP.
Yeah,
and her shooting off rockets.
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, I think that she still stole the spotlight just a tad over everybody else. But it's the nature of the character, too. It's like in the Batman Nolan movies, the Joker, because he's such a rule breaker, always gets all the raves and that. And I think Jennifer's in that character is in that same spotlight because she's just doing all these crazy things all the time. And it's just funny watching her riff off of so many references from other properties and whatnot that it makes it quite a delight. And then after that, I think that the rest of the cast was pretty equally split, and they all got to shine in each, if not in an entire episode, they all got these really important scenes. I think the Cole Cassie relationship has really matured into something wonderful. And even Olivia, who has been a minor player up until now, who has been captured, she had some good moments as well. And it's just really hard to pick amongst them all. I just think the show is doing a terrific job of portioning out great moments for all the characters in this suite of episodes. And it's just really tough to pick. There's no weak links is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah.
Everybody's bringing their A game.
Great.
Even like the scientist characters that are in the background
Oh yeah,
get some good moments too,
the
right?
Baldy was really good.
Yeah.
I
Probably
can
his
never
best
remember
host. Yeah, I don't remember his
but-
name either. The guy with the glasses. Yeah,
Yeah.
he had some good moments. She had a gun.
Yeah. I don't know if you had a gun on me, maybe. And she goes
Yeah.
"Whoop," with her finger.
Yeah.
So good.
We'll start with nature, and that one we go back to 1953, and Agent Gale makes a return appearance, and for all of us it's a more poignant reunion because we've seen what happens to him in the previous episode. So this is where the show really plays off of its strengths, and it's just it's just a really strong episode, and we see Cassie wrestling with her conscience about the fact that her actions are what led to his death. And that, Jesse, what did you think of this episode?
One of the things that I loved is the last time we saw him, he said, "As well as I know you, Cole." He's, "Wait a minute, you don't know me." And he's, "Oh yeah, you're right." You knew he was going to come back based on that.
Mm-hmm.
That this show isn't going to, that would not be a mistake this show would make. It's a breadcrumb they were dropping.
Yep.
I also thought of the scene where yesterday's Enterprise, I think I've got it right, where the Denise Crosby character said, it sounds like my death wasn't significant, right? Or it wasn't.
Mhm.
And so, to have him share, did I make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That because was in effect, him knowing what the future was has in a lot destroyed his life. It's destroyed his family life. His partner makes fun of him every knock door. You think it's the 12 Monkeys, even though when it's a guy paying someone to whip him, which I thought was a little risque, but fun to see, that in a lot of ways, his life has become worse because of the interaction with them. But he actually views it as better, that his life has meant more. And being able to say, yeah, brother and sister, boy, I was dumb about that. We liked him. I liked him. We all did the first time we saw him in the 40s. And talk about a wonderful use of a great character actor and bringing him back enough that it is truly like good seasoning in a meal. You didn't overuse them. You didn't underuse them. You just did it right. And if we never see him again, I will be sad, but I will go, if I was that actor, I would feel like, you know what? This is a nice little role I've been able to play, and I'm really blessed that I've been able to do it.
Yeah, agreed.
Karen.
Yeah. Okay, there's so many things happening in these episodes. First of all, and this is on not a show point of view, but do you think that he is named after Dorothy Gale from The Wizard of Oz?
Maybe.
The last name of Gale isn't super common, but to me, it seems like maybe that character it reminds me of her journey a little bit, where she doesn't know where she's going, but she believes in what the witch has told her, and she's going to try and get there whatever way she can with her friends. And I thought to myself, if he's named after that, I got to look for all these hints if they're dropping any, but it seemed kind of Gale-esque for me as well. I also like that it looks like he doesn't change his decision. He saves Cassie in the end and dies doing it because that part of the story hasn't changed. And I think that shows his integrity and fortitude, and it's another reason to just love his character. I also like that he's an FBI guy, right? But he makes sure to do little things that make the things around him better. He goes and talks to the sheriff and checks in with him when they get to that Hope Falls or whatever town, just to say, hey, I'm here. I'm looking into some stuff. I just wanted to let you know that I'm another law officer here. And I think that's cool. That's a little beat they throw in to get him out of the way while Cole and Cassie see something. But I think it also shows his character. And I love his character as little as we've seen him in the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he's going to play a major part going forward. We might see him one more time again. But I really do enjoy his character. He's had a lot of good beats. You can tell he's a good agent because he reads into things and he gets things right. He gets the vibe from Cole and Cassie that they're not brother and sister, right?
Yeah.
And he also knows just instinctually that they're on the right side. And without having all like a year of interaction with them, he's only known them through these little things. And he just understands that they're the good guys in all this. As unbelievable as their story is, he buys into it because he's seen evidence. And he also buys into it because he just knows these people are doing the right thing. And I love that about him. He's so cool. And he helps them get into the tent. He trips and makes sure that they can get around and get their tickets or whatever to get into the tent.
Yeah.
I really like that he's all in for his friends. His loyalty can never be questioned. Just a great character.
Right. And it's your whole thing with Gale. I took his name more just to represent the storm situation.
Could be.
But I think that's the same reason that they chose that name for Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz too. But I think it's the strength of the series that here we've been talking about this Gale character, who's a character actor that.
Hey, wait! I never put that together. Why did I never put together that they named her Gale because she's in a storm? Why did I never realize that? Today I learned.
There you
Today
go.
I learned too. Yes, I agree.
Okay, cool.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, nice.
Okay. But it's the strength of this series that we've been talking about this character actor. You haven't even mentioned that Christopher Lloyd's in this episode.
Right? And he's good too, but he doesn't have anything on Gale, to be honest.
His role is very straight line. So it's just his presence and obviously his history as Doc Brown that is great. And I really love there's something about Carnival Circus Tents revival scenes that really work well for ramping up emotional impact. And the whole thing of Cole and Cassie being in that crowd and seeing their son and not being able to act upon their desires to save him or interact with him, as opposed to we've got Cassie and Cole are conflicting ends of the spectrum. Cole doesn't really know the child. Cassie carried the child, so she's got that connection. She wants to try to save him. Cole just he's gone back to the mission. Let's kill him. But the beauty of the episode is that when they get to that point in the next episode, Cole can't pull the trigger. So it's just really well done. Sad in this episode that I think this is the last episode that we're going to see Hattie Whittingham from Ted Lasso, because badass Cassie burns her up. And we talked about this in the previous episode where I think she's Magdalene, isn't she? Magdalena?
Yeah, Magdalene.
When she keeps on killing herself, she does it again in this episode before Cassie kills her. So I'm still curious about these multiple instances of characters offing themselves, because if she did it once, why would she have to do it again? So it's at that point is confusing to me, and I'm worried that Cole and Cassie might face that kind of choice as well. So we'll have to see. How that goes.
I get that. I understand that. When you go back to warn someone to change the future, you're a remainder. You're not in that future anymore. So you let your past self continue on and become that other person. But in the case where they kill her and she's not coming back to warn anyone to change the future, she's not a remainder anymore. She's just herself. So she's not coming back, I'm guessing.
Right.
And Hannah Waddingham, she's so good in this as like this. You expelled him from your body. You rejected him. It's such a weird way to look at things, but you can, if they're a fanatic, you can see how she would come to that conclusion. He's meant to be here. And so Magdalene was crazy good for me in these episodes.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway, sorry for interrupting.
No, that's
you.
okay. She reminds me of Nurse
Nurse
Ratched
Ratched.
from
Yeah.
One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yep.
I do hope that we're going to get more backstory on her, because I'd like to know how she came to be where she was, like why she became like one of the four horsemen. That'll be interesting to find out. Jesse, what did you think of the carnival tent stuff?
Yeah, I love the carnival tent. I do. This is such an interesting story of Cassie's child, this child of time,
Mhm.
being more than just a witness. It just, and the idea of nature or nurture, which is very cleverly used in the titles. Okay, in case you didn't guess what we're debating, let's just put it right out there.
And yet they still surprise us.
Yeah, and the idea that, of all the casting, I'm bad at this game anyway. Like, there's often people will say, okay, cast this TV show, cast this book. So if we were remaking blank today, what would modern actors? I'm really bad at that.
Yeah, me too.
But there's no way Cassie and Cole's son is perfect without me knowing that was what I needed, right? You're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, you get an actor of that much strength. You get that much, the looks of both like him a little bit. It is just perfect.
Especially the younger version of Ethan.
Yeah. And then when we get Christopher Lloyd playing this perfect older leader, and
He
they're
looks like a priest out of The Exorcist.
He
Yeah.
does. And I'm a little confused about the Carnival Barker. What are they trying to do?
Get their 12 monkeys.
Yeah, and this to build that is fascinating. What this show does so well is while watching it, I'm never confused, except maybe just a few things, but there's the side of right, there's the side of wrong, and then there's the gray, and 80% is gray. And everyone is moving back and forth. Like, what is the mission? What is the right choice? What is correct? Cole saying, I've killed children before, but then couldn't do it. Cassie going, he was my child, but maybe I've got to do this. There's so much complexity, right? We would have thought Jones of Katerina, of course she's always going to be on the side of right, but now then, is she or is she not? Oh, you've got your kid, now then you don't care, which is the same thing we have with Ramsey. And I just love this chaos that while you're watching it is just beautiful to watch, this dance of chaos. And
people
twists and
crisscrossing.
turns. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's an intricate dance of motivations, that's for sure.
Can I also say, and he seems to be, Christopher Lloyd's character seems to be maybe the father of Olivia and the Pallid Man, because he's with that chickadee. Yeah. And what great casting to be the father of the Pallid Man, right?
Yeah.
And we know he's not the biological father of Olivia, but we can see that kind of fanaticism because she was made in a lab and maybe comes from the chick, but I don't think she's his full brother. I'm sorry, his full sister. I'm just looking into that, thinking into that. But if he was given to me, and then the other guy who plays the Pallid Man was given to me, I'd say yes, father and son, 100%. I can see that. Even though they're probably not that far apart in age, we're doing timey-wimey stuff. He's a kid in these. And also seeing the Pallid Man as a kid with the flowers, that really was super interesting to see. So we're seeing a lot of characters, and even it's not like he plays a huge part as a child, but it's nice to see how he got there.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And did it not remind you a little bit of Carnival?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I remember that series. That was a great series.
Such a good series.
Yeah, that never.
I was gutted
out.
when that was canceled.
Yeah, for sure. So we move from nature to nurture, and that episode sets up Cassie and Cole at opposite ends of what to do about their son. And we get Jennifer with Cole at the reception, which is funny because she's dressed up like Peggy Sue got married. That's what she reminded me of with that ponytail and that. So that was all pretty cool. And at the same time, we're finding out through Olivia that Jennifer's been holding back information from the team about how to prevent Cole and Cassie from carrying out or whatever they don't really know what they're trying to do. They assume they're trying to protect the witness, I think. But so we get some fun sequences where they're jumping in and out of different locations and fighting Deacon and Hannah. So that's all that fun stuff. And yeah, there's just a lot of great stuff in this episode, Jesse. And like you said, that the title is working quite well as well to support the theme of what the episode is about.
Yeah, I just think this is so interesting of what they're trying to do. And jumping ahead a little bit, Deacon is not trusting. He's reading between the lines. Hey, what do we maybe do? They figure out that Cole and Cassie are hiding something, and they figure out what. And I really wanted to go to the next episode when we skip ahead. And if I can jump just ahead, but you guys are talking about that Jennifer is just insane, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's, look, I killed her once. I'm not killing her again. Where do you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
And she's acting all crazy, like, hey, we're going to put you back. And then right before it leaps, she has this
Wink.
clear as a bay,
Yeah.
winking, and she's sly as a fox. And we've been played.
Yep.
You know? And what I loved is I had the question a couple episodes ago, okay, we brought past Jennifer to the future to watch old Jennifer die.
Mm-hmm.
How does past Jennifer get back to grow up to be old Jennifer?
Mm-hmm.
And they completed the loop, right? She's back. You would think over the next season, because we are down to the last season and a couple episodes, that she won't ever go back to the future again. And so now then she's going to run her time where she will know her future, but she will live this long life. Just as you talk about this circle of life, so well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. This episode, Nurture, it couldn't have had a more apt title.
Yeah.
We do a lot about nurture in this, where Hannah's wounded and brought back, and we have the mention of being a mother. We have Cassie going back to talk to her mother in that episode, and her reversing her regret about not going to the museum with her mother. It almost made me cry. She gets the memory in her brain.
Yeah. And the nosebleed.
And the nosebleed, the dead giveaway that she's changed something. And the way she talks to her mother, and her mother getting the vibe, I know who you are. That kind of knowing who your daughters and sons are out of instinct. And we get that also come around with Cole, that he realizes he has that instant connection when he sees Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
You're my son. I don't know what to do. And he looks in his eyes later after the tent, and he realizes, I can't do this. I can't kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so Cassie's mom is played by Kristen Booth, who is one of the leads of Hallmark Channel's Signed, Sealed, and Delivered.
That may be where I know her from.
Yes, she is. Yeah, Signed, Sealed, Delivered is this wonderful series created by the same person that did Touched by an Angel. The premise is that these 4 people working in a post office find dead letters, and they discover who person had sent the letter that needed something. They solve a mystery, and they fix issues. It is Quantum Leap, but set in a post office. And Kristen plays the character Shane, who is the female lead. And she also is in The Boys. And in interviews, she always has to tell, okay, my people who love Signed, Sealed, and Delivered, be very careful if you don't watch the boys.
Yeah.
Because I play a very different character. But seeing another Hallmark Channel, someone I adore, made me just smile. And I was like, look, look. So yes.
Do they ever have scenes together in the Hallmark movies?
I don't
Or-
think they,
Oh,
I do
okay.
not believe they've ever been in a movie together.
Huh.
I do not think so. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
that scene with her and her mother was just that was just really well done, and
So
what's
good.
the
Yeah.
parallels between how she's feeling about her relationship with her mother and her non-relationship with her son at this point are quite really well done. And I thought it was one of Amanda's strongest episodes to date. I thought that she played that quite well. Though
Well,
she does have a scene later on with Ethan that's pretty strong too. So
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say, right?
yeah.
This is how cool is it that we get that, and then we get Ethan separately meeting with his mom
Hmm.
and meeting with his dad, both in very different circumstances.
Yeah.
Which, if you had a portable time machine, of course you would do that.
Yeah.
Especially, there is a whole series waiting out there if you just wanted to do. Ethan could be time of the week, that
Hmm.
you
Right.
could do an episode of the week with him doing this. So well done.
Jumping around. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Mhm.
in hearing him
And-
grow.
And you can see that he is trying to figure out why they abandoned him,
Yes.
especially Cole,
Yeah.
Mhm.
because he asked him about his father. And I think he sees where Cole is coming from, even though he doesn't have the whole story
Mhm.
of why he was taken by these people. I'm sure they told him something else.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have told him, hey, we abducted you from your mother and father. It's nice to see that he's questioning that. And I think that does have a bit to do with why we do learn in the last episode we watched here, Thief, what his main motivation is. But I think
Mhm.
part of it also is that he feels rejected.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Another strong episode that is cool because we get the starting to see a little bit more as the series progresses, scenes where characters are seeing themselves previously. I assume that's going to become more prevalent as we get into the fourth season because there has to be points where they have to revisit certain things to try to do whatever corrections are needed. I'm looking forward to that. Then we jump to Masks, which is the kind of like the Edgar Allan Poe episode in Victorian England or London, and we're getting really close to finally meeting the witness. And of course, it's a ball, and everybody's wearing masks, so you've got the blatant symbolism there. But the characters are all wearing their own masks, and some of the best scene, I think, some of the best scenes in this episode for me, Karen, were the conversations that Cole had with Katerina when they were dancing,
Mhm.
because these are two characters that have experiences the same thing of parents that have lost their child, and
Yep.
I thought it was really well done.
And you can see how they diverged from what they thought the path should be.
Hmm.
They started off, hey, we're going to fix this pandemic. And even though Katerina had a motivation of getting her daughter back or just making sure when she's born, she doesn't get this virus, that you can see that not only do they have similar motivations when it comes to their children, they have incredibly different motivations when it comes to what to do with the time machine. And I thought that was super telling, and it adds another layer to their relationship. They've had ups and downs together, but mostly they've been on the same page. And to see this kind of come to a head with them being completely on different sides, I thought was interesting, and their discussions were interesting. I also liked the, I don't know, young adult version of Ethan with Sebastian.
Yeah.
And I love that scene where he's being encouraged to write everything down instead of drawing these pictures when he gets visions. And that's like a full circle moment where we actually see him creating this murder board roadmap thing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So good. I think the acting in these episodes were crazy good. Masks and Nurture. We got some of Deacon being disgruntled.
Hmm.
I'm being left out. Why am I not on this chart
Yes,
of
that's
people?
very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he the Joker?
Why
this
do I
whole
not
thing?
matter?
Yeah.
And he really is feeling like I gotta contribute to this more so that I can actually matter. I can do something that matters. And the talk he has with Olivia about it, because Olivia's on there too. Why am I not on it more than me? Why did I get left out? And she tells him there are things that happen that don't need a certain person. They just need someone.
Yeah.
And you were slotted, you were convenient. You may not matter, you did a job. And he's not fond of that answer. So we also see a lot of movement in his character where he jumps in with both feet trying to track down Cole and Cassie. And because he realizes that Cassie's never going to be in love with him, I think that's a lot of motivation for him as well. You're with Cole, you're trying to save your kid, you rejected me. Okay, I'll go after you then. And I loved his interactions with Jennifer, encouraging Jennifer to look into these visions she's having, which lead to a lot of different weird, trippy scenes with Jennifer.
Yep.
And she's interacting with Ethan. We even see her talking to Ethan and Ethan knowing, hey, you're a primary too. And he tells her, maybe you're the best out of all of us, which for someone who has been told over and over that he's the most important person in the universe, to say that someone else is better than him, it's very insightful for his character. And you can't get much better than these scenes, right? And Sebastian losing track of Ethan and realizing at that last moment, oh, two pence for a pauper. Oh, that's me dead. I get it now. And Ethan, even though he rejected him, coming and putting the coins on his eyes. Just such great episodes. The one in the past, and we do see there's two of them in the 1800s in this 4-pack of episodes. Both the atmosphere in those episodes puts you in that time frame. It reminded me of things like Time After Time and Somewhere in Time, those kind of Victorian era episodes. So they're just so good.
Yeah. Jesse.
Yeah, we have so much going on here. And I love Sebastian and the idea, his loyalty. Cole at one point lets them leave because he can't go against his son. The idea of how important Sebastian was to Ethan, and then the idea, I know everyone's ending, right? When he's sitting at that party and like, she dies of cancer, she dies in a murder, she's in an accident, and then he starts laughing because he's putting on a brave face. He
hates that, right? Don't
he
you
does
think?
hate, he hates that. And also the idea of even though in the past he still has his iPod or whatever, the
iPad,
MP3 player, whatever it is, the iPad, playing music and doing this, and makes him this fascinating character. So you wonder, and that's why I really am looking forward to our next 2 episodes of what is going to motivate him. And we've learned very early that when Cole made the decision to choose life, things got better. And when he chose death, things didn't get better. So is that going to be a redemption story that we continue to get? Is it by them choosing this, or is this going to cause this issue?
And we know he just killed Ramsey in the previous episodes. When is the karma coming back for that? Because he's received karma for saving a life versus killing someone. So what is him losing his son again part of the karma? So it's going to be interesting to see that.
And I love their version of a fixed point in time. That's often covered in Doctor Who or other time shows where you can rewrite the past, except when you can't rewrite the past. And in this case, you couldn't. Her death is a fixed point in time, no matter what. And he talked about how many times he tried to do that.
Man, you're skipping ahead.
I am skipping ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all
It's
right.
hard not
I
to.
get it.
Say, yeah,
Uh,
you're
yeah.
talking about adult Ethan and what was the girl's name?
Thief.
Yeah.
Eliza.
Eliza. Yeah.
All right. So back to what we were talking about, right? The idea of that God, it's all timey-wimey jumbled
Merging together. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
okay.
just want to make sure to talk about Thief as a self-contained episode
Yeah.
because
We will.
yeah,
Yep.
because that episode was really important, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jesse.
Yeah, masks, we get beautiful staging, costumes,
Mhm.
everyone being there and trying to interact together. We get the great line Olivia tells her you should stop smoking,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which I thought was a wonderful line,
And
right?
she puts out her cigarette.
Yeah, which is almost as good as giving the razor. Imagine you were
Oh,
me,
and
what
she
would you
admits,
do?
I tried.
Yeah,
I tried to get him to shave. To
Yeah.
Gail. So
Yeah.
funny.
yeah. And Sebastian, how often we must defy our friends for what we believe in.
Yep.
And you wonder, I'll go back to Bruce, right? Because I always do. One of my favorite
Take a drink.
songs, one of my favorite Bruce songs is Land of Hope and Dreams. And on the sign, I'll meet you in the land of hope and dreams. And we'll often, as Bruce fans, we'll talk about that if someone passes, we'll say, and you'll meet them again in the land of hope and dreams. Where the forest is red is their version of that. But to us, the forest of red is a bad thing.
Mhm.
But I think their thought is, and maybe I'm like our point about I did not think Dorothy Gale was related to the tornado either. So I'm also that old today, Karen. Is to them,
TIL.
is the forest is red? Is that their version of a heaven?
Mhm.
Where everyone lives forever and there is no loss and there is no sorrow, there is no past, there is no future, there is only now, and now is everywhere. And if you think about that, is absolutely what many of us would call paradise. Yet our good guys are fighting against that ending.
Because it means the end of
Yeah.
human life at that
Right.
point.
So is that the right choice?
Yeah, that's an interesting dichotomy because I don't know if the series is going to go there, but time is what gives context to our life, and without it, to be in a frozen moment only works if you've lived a life.
Yep.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how that
And
plays out.
that if you've watched The Good Place, that's why The Good Place is someplace that's not really heaven to people because they don't have an ending.
Right.
There's not this, you don't have any meaning to your life.
Right.
Because it goes on forever. And how boring is that, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if either one of you, my latest musical obsession is Jason Isbell. And I don't know if you guys have spent any time listening to his music.
No.
But he has a song called If We Were Vampires.
Okay.
And it says,
Sounds awesome.
It's knowing that this can't go on forever. Likely one of us will have to spend some days alone. Maybe we'll get 40 years together, but one day I'll be gone. One day you'll be gone. If we were vampires and death was a joke, we'd go out on the sidewalk and smoke and laugh at all the lovers and their plans. I wouldn't feel the need to hold your hand. Maybe time running out is a gift. I'll work hard till the end of my shift. I'll give you every second I can find and hope it isn't me who's left behind.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, that finite ending is what gives meaning to our lives.
Yeah.
And and also to us, it looks pretty chaotic, the Red Forest. So do they really think it's going to be settled, be something that's pleasant to deal with? That's also a question. And I want to give props, big time props here to, especially in masks, to the costumers.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
The show does not look
Victorian.
cheap.
No.
It does not look cheap at all.
Yeah.
And it looks
gorgeous.
like Joyce Shearer, Barbara Somerville, and Catherine George are the costumers for this. I don't know who did this episode in particular, but huge props to them. Huge props.
Yeah. So I just want to make two more points about Mass before we move on. And I'm glad you brought up the murder board or the time board or whatever you want to call it. And Deacon, I almost feel like it's a kind of 6 degrees of separation scenario. That particular time chart is important to Ethan only. Like it's from his perspective. So if another character were to do that board, I think Deacon might show up depending on whatever
Right.
relationship they had with him. So it's an interesting, what is it, observation or quirk, I guess you could say, of this of events. Is it all depends on the perspective of the person that's experiencing these events. And another board, Deacon could be featured greatly in it. So I
Right.
don't know
Yeah, because
if they're planting a seed that being out of the board is significant, or it's just because he's not, him and Ethan don't really have any sort of interaction.
yeah, I'd be interested to see if he appears on the murder board map, which is what I'm calling it, at
And
some point in time, if he does interact with Ethan.
Yeah.
and I know we casually mentioned this, but I felt this sense of kind of aha, right? When he has the compass and starts drawing, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, this map, oh, this is the origin of that.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, where? And like you said, because it's his perspective,
Yeah.
he is biased on what's
Right.
this going.
It says James Cole in the center, but really he's drawing it with him in the center.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, for
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. And the final point is, and we've mentioned this in various ways throughout all the episodes, and we even did it again in this one, is the show sets up things and pays them off, but it's also very self-aware that it is paying things off. And I think it does maximize the payoff as much as it can. And with a sense of humor, we've mentioned the razor, and we just talked about the cigarettes. And through this whole series, for a greater part of the series, we've kept on hearing about the witness. When are we gonna finally meet the witness? And then they play that scene where this masked character walks in the room. We're all thinking, "Oh, this is a witness. This is a witness." And then it pulls off the mask, and it's Jennifer, and she lets all those fireworks go off. I just thought that was fantastic.
So good.
I just loved it. This is the part where you run.
Right. So good.
I love that. That was a wonderful capper to that episode. I just thought that was really well done. And
Yeah.
so I'll throw it around the table one more time for this episode. Jesse, is there anything that hasn't come up you wanted to mention about this one?
Can't think of it. No, great episode.
All right, Karen?
Not about that one. I'm anxious to talk about Thief, though.
Okay, yeah.
I think this was my favorite out of the four.
Yeah, and not because the other ones were bad. It's just because
No.
we finally get the payoff who the witness is, and we see at the very end of this episode who the witness is. And the show has had inspired casting all the way through. But my God, to cast the character who played one of the most duplicitous characters I've ever run across in James Callis as Baltar from the Battlestar remake is pure genius. Now, at the time, it probably meant more at the time because we're 10 years beyond the show, and Battlestar Galactica is, I don't know, 15, 20 years now. Maybe the impact of who this actor is not going to be as heavy on people new coming to the series. But this guy is the perfect suave, conniving actor that you could cast to play this Ethan character who we've been geared up through all these episodes that this is the bad guy, this is the bad guy, this is the bad guy. We get a little more ambivalent about it once we find out who his parents are. And then in this episode, we find out that everything that's been going on in this series, surprise, it's a love story.
Yep.
And my God, this was like, it reminded me of so many different episodes, and I'll throw it out to you first, Jesse. It reminded me of a mash of the Time Traveler's Wife and the Princess Bride, and it was just amazing how much chemistry they built up between Ethan and Eliza. And I just thought that their chemistry leapt off the screen. The sparks were real, and Eliza was played by Claire Cooper, good Canadian girl from Langley, BC. She's been in the Battlestar series as well. And I thought she did a fantastic job with the short time period she had to play in the series, at least as far as we know. And this episode also had the constant vibes from Lost as well. Jesse, what did you think of this episode?
This is amazing, right? he looks, as I said, he looks like he could be Cassie and Cole's son.
Hmm.
And for those of us who watched Battlestar Galactica, the reboot, he was an amazing character that went from you hated him to you maybe liked him to hated him again. And the he has just enough disdain and aloofness. I had thought, what a perfect way. I don't have to connect. I just pop from one to one
Hmm.
of going to wherever I want to go, right? And then all of a sudden when it breaks, him finding her and falling in love, I do buy the chemistry immediately.
Hmm.
I don't know where else she's from. I looked at IMDb, nothing else strikes me as someone I recognize, but she is wonderful and his
Hmm.
courtship of her is very charming. Like I said, the scene in the restaurant where he, convinces her and charms her.
Hmm.
I assume it did bring me up my nitpick is shouldn't Cassie and Cole have money too? Like, it seems like I know they
Yeah.
sold jewels for a while to have money,
Yeah.
but wouldn't you have, in that year you were in the 50s, take some money and buy stock in something that was going to be, and then go back and sell that? Okay, like I'm going to buy Kodak or IBM stock. Okay, I know it peaks at this point. Let's go back, sell it, put it in a trust. Similar like they have the hotel room in perpetuity, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Just I nitpick, but I just thought of that, right?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
that's why he's rich, right? Because he can go back and
Yep.
manipulate time
Yeah,
and
I mean,
always have,
IBM and Xerox were around in the 50s, right?
yeah. And then later could buy Apple stock and Microsoft and
Exactly.
Dell. And yeah. Yeah, I just loved everything about this. And Ethan is just, you feel for him now.
Yeah.
He can't be the bad guy. And this is the cliche, right? It starts with a woman. It always starts with a woman, right? This is a love story that we didn't know it was.
Yeah.
And I am not a big Iggy Pop fan, but
Mm.
The Passenger, that song really worked during that period where he
Mhm.
did.
Hmm.
I just love everything about how, in a lot of ways, this is a standalone episode, even though we
Hmm.
get scenes in the
Yeah.
future in Jennifer, and we get that Cassie and Cole are reading this huge library of all the diaries and stuff he kept. But
Hmm.
really, this is the story of two people finding each other and one of them losing.
Yeah.
And no matter what they do, they can't get it back.
I have a question for both of you. What do you think the significance is of the fact is that Ethan can't foresee
Mm.
Eliza's death? Do you think it's something time related, or is it just the cliched love is blind?
Yeah, I was actually just going to mention that. I think that's his motivation for trying to get to know her, because
Hmm.
he can't see her death and he doesn't really know anything about her. And I think it's maybe because he gets too close to her
Yeah.
that he can't change her future, and her existence is set in stone. And it might not be the only person who's like that,
Hmm.
but he runs across her at a certain point in his life and gets that vibe from her. And it's insta love, which is one of the tropes in romance, love at first sight. And I do think that plays a big part, that he automatically sees a kindred spirit in her when she robs that guy.
Hmm.
That guy's the worst, by the way, the jeweler.
Oh, I did love that scene where he's, okay, enough of this shit. Been taking my money. And by the way, I would have said, and I want a refund. Right?
Right.
Like, yeah, give
Exactly.
me money right now.
Yeah. And we know that he could probably wrench it out of him too.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's because they're soulmates, maybe. And that's the magical part of the show, because I don't know that. Okay, you may not agree with me here,
Hmm.
but I don't think we have one soulmate.
Hmm.
This is my whole thing. because if we were brought up somewhere else, if I moved to England, I'd meet a soulmate there, right? There's probably hundreds of people
We make
that we could
soulmates.
be soulmates with.
Yeah.
But running into someone that is so perfect for you, you have to jump on it. And this intrigues him, but it also, once he gets to know her, it doesn't matter that he can't see anything about her. And it's heart-wrenching when he realizes he can't save her. When you see him writing numbers, it's like a montage sort of thing where you see him flashing and trying to save her, and she dies anyway, and he's writing down another number. And it's, what is it, like 600 times he tries to find her and save her, and he can't do it. And that is what shapes him into the adult witness that we see as the quote unquote bad guy. And it's all a culmination to that point. And I just love how we're brought to that, like in a triangle, right down to that point where we see this is his motivation. We're not sure. We see him fall in love. We know it has, oh, there we go. And he's jaded by all this. Plus, he has the experiences of interacting with his mother in the past at this time, where he goes back as a doctor and tries to get advice from her on how to save Eliza. And he is also we see that at another point in time, he's interacted with his father, and he learns a lot of things about him too. So he has all these experiences that have shaped him, and all of a sudden they come to a head, and that's it. I have to find a way to stop time and be with her. And I love the fact that he can't see her death. And it's genius how they show this to us, where he's talking about how his power works in the previous episode, and that he can see the death of all these people. And he draws the death of Sebastian, and the fact that when he sees this person, he can't do it. And it's a conundrum for him. What do I do about this? I got to figure out why. And also the scene in the restaurant, that was fantastic too. When he says piss off to that guy who comes and says she's not up to the dress code. That's fantastic. And him trying to make sure everybody else in the restaurant is humbled was so good. But just that episode, oh, I just love it. It's so good.
So Jesse, the fact that Ethan can't see Eliza's fate, what did you read on it? Is that a time thing, a destiny thing, or is love blind?
Maybe all the above.
Maybe all the above.
Or maybe a convenient plot choice, right?
Maybe.
Because we don't get why. Yet. We have not yet. And my thought is the reason he sees them as the witness, as a primary, does he get those visions? And has there been others that he can't see and he just hasn't run into, or doesn't care enough to tell? I don't know. And hopefully they'll end up telling us. And is it because he can't see the future? Is that why he's drawn to her? Or is there something else there? And I agree with you, Karen. I think that in our lives, there are many people that we have the opportunity to meet, and because we chose right instead of left. And I also agree with you, Lou. I think we make our soulmates, we make our relationships. But this is very much as someone who has control over time, the idea of not knowing what's going to happen to her and then not seeing it. And the idea, okay, I've gotten mad, I've gotten my time machine back, now I'll just go fix it. And she dies. Okay, I'm going to fix it again, right? And she dies. Does this drive him insane? Or does this drive him to be what we worry that everyone in the future thinks, that this is the person this is the supervillain's origin story. This is him falling in the vat of acid, or Superman making me lose my hair. This is the origin story. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I have to say to you, all of the above. I
Yeah.
think it's a culmination of all of these things that have added up to what he is. I also love the concept of the titles of the episode meaning a lot of different things.
Mhm.
We get that in Nature and Nurture, in Masks as well.
Yep.
And in Thief here, we have Cassie actually saying time is a thief.
Yeah.
And we also see that Eliza is a thief. We see a lot of different things that lead us to that name, that title. Just
Yeah. Cole's a thief.
Right.
Stealing food. Yep.
A brilliantly executed plot in this episode where everything is coming together. Everything makes sense. Just amazing.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to say it 100 times. I love this episode.
Yeah. What there was one point in the episode where I was going, okay, that reaction seems a little convenient, is when the first time Ethan saves Olivia and she's pissed off. Like,
Yeah.
she's not happy about it. I'm going, well, that's awfully convenient. But then
Eliza,
they back it
right?
up. They back it up with the stopwatch and
Yep.
the story behind that. So I thought that worked out really well. And there's just something romance stories with this than I think me and Jesse do, but there's something about Victorian England that just adds I don't know, a certain spice or flair or whatever to romance stories that just makes it a little more engaging and whatnot. And like the clothing and that stopwatch, the imagery of that stuff, the streets of London in that time period, it's just, yeah, it's got, I don't know, Jane Austen vibe to it or something. I don't know what to say it is exactly.
Yeah, a little Bridgerton thrown in, I think, with their romance.
Pre-Bridgerton, but this is pre-Bridgerton. But
no, I know. I'm just saying it gives that kind of historical romance vibe. And historical romances are a huge thing. And I'm very particular about what historicals I read. I especially like the ones where someone has fallen into a time hole and they get sent back to Scotland, the Highlands, they get sent back to. Those are really super interesting to me. And we get a little taste of that in this episode where Ethan has under his belt the knowledge of the things in the future where we see him cure Eliza when she is infected with something. We see him with his iPad, and he also tells her that I see the future where women are lauded, where they're celebrated in these positions. And she's taken aback by that he's not a misogynist. And I just love that he has a whole different perspective on their love story. He feels like it's going to last forever because he doesn't have that perspective of an open and closed relationship. He feels like he can move around in time and be with people. And he realizes it's not going to happen with Eliza because she dies at a fixed point in time and he cannot stop it. Yeah. And so he gets a comeuppance in this episode. And we're getting the bait and switch as well, where it looks like when Cole and Cassie allow him to leave with Sebastian, he's changed his future a little bit. And we realize, you know what? That actually leads to his future as the witness. Yeah. So I honestly think that they're giving us stuff in such an interesting way, and it makes this show really great. I have to say, huge props to Terry Matalas. And also, I love that when we tweet about them, they like our post, and I feel like, hey, we're being seen a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's always cool. And I like also that we're seeing these actors and actresses from other Terry Matalas shows like Picard and all that. Deacon is from Picard. And also James Callis was in a couple episodes of Picard. Yeah. He was also in Bridget Jones's Diary, which is cool, I think. But
Aaron Stanford was in Picard too. He was a Ferengi.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
shave.
I just, yeah. Oh, and also the shaving thing, Ethan takes that on as well. He is very scruffy also.
But it looks better on him. I think it's because it's the darker.
It does, definitely. Yeah, he's not a towhead. He has that's blonde.
I know it just sounds
I'm
funny
sorry.
when you say it.
We're talking about historical romances.
Right.
He's taken it to a new level. Not
Mhm.
only is he scruffy, but he's got long, when he doesn't take care of it, unkempt hair.
Yeah,
So,
greasy.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. When he
yeah,
doesn't take care of it, when he's trying to be in English society, he makes sure he looks good, but he's still
yeah,
got the scruffy
yeah.
thing going.
Like
So,
father, like son.
exactly, exactly.
Jesse, we've left you hanging out there. Speak
Yeah,
up,
No,
friend.
sorry about that.
no, I love this. Yeah, I think this is one of the things we see often in enough that it is a trope, right? Is that by trying to stop something actually means you fulfill
Yep,
the destiny, right?
yep.
That if you had left things alone, things may have gone different. Because you intervene, you end up getting this. So I love this idea of our character is going time to time, not feeling anything, not connecting, not making any relationships, just enjoying life. I have a time machine, therefore I can go all of time and space except just time.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, he makes this emotional connection, and as life or fate is well to do, it ends poorly.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you feel like you're God, and Katrina has that perfect thing about if you believe in a God, she has a nice monologue of you can't change this. And because you can't change it, it changes you. And I will tell you, only because I love and respect our bond as friends and podcasters, that I did not go to the next episode.
Same
Like when
here.
you're seeing those and okay, we're here at the end.
Yep.
And you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Like,
have to actually force myself to reach for the remote at that
yeah,
point.
because you're like, oh my goodness. Yes, yeah, oh, I'm sorry, Lou. I misunderstood.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it just such sadness in his eyes,
Hmm.
and then such happiness. He's still getting the dreams, he's still getting the vision, nightmares. And then this is the episode where we get the triple Jennifers, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. And we've spent so much time talking about him,
Hmm.
this storyline, right? Of just her, everything working out and doing this. One of the things that in today's episode that we recorded earlier on Babylon 5, there was a discussion about intellectually setting up a storyline and then having an emotional delivery. This series, as it's developed, has done a better job, and maybe because I'm fresh with this,
Hmm.
but of not only I'm seeing them connect the dots, but it's paint by numbers. We all used to do a paint by numbers, or most of us did, and it makes no sense. You're just putting in the colors where they tell you to do the dot. Then all of a sudden you go, oh my goodness.
Hmm.
Now that I step back, I see the whole picture.
Dude, I still do that.
I feel like
I
this
have an
is
adult coloring book on my
okay.
tablet.
Yeah. This feels like they're doing that, right? They're putting the pieces together. And then when we step back, we're like, oh my God, what a musical song. What a beautiful portrait they put together.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I totally forgot about Jennifer, which is sad. You mentioned that she's leaving out information, which she is doing. I also think she's sabotaging them when she can.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, which you can see her like furtively looking at them. What can I can't give them this information.
Hmm.
They can't find me out. And then they find her out and they put her in the cell. And we know it has become this flip where Olivia has been in a cell all her life as well. And they use that to break her, right? Or to try and break her. And now they're doing the same thing to Jennifer. She's been in cells all her life as well. They have that in common. And you see them actually talking to each other about it.
Hmm.
And her splitting her personality, I think that has a lot to do with her being a primary, where she can see all different versions of time.
Yep.
So I think she's actually seeing those versions of herself
Right.
in a kind of slipstream, timey-wimey way.
Yeah.
And
For
yeah, and also I think it's genius that she brought her turtle back as a child
sure. Yeah.
so she can use it as a weapon.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. When she apologizes, yeah, sorry about this, and she
Yeah.
used it
Yeah, that was great.
to create a paradox. I thought she was going to destroy that. This is how the facility is destroyed.
Oh, okay.
That's not true. There's still, and we also see Katerina in the first of these 4 episodes measuring out a path, and I'm guessing that's how she's going to try and get the machine out of the facility. So maybe we'll see more of that as well. We saw her measuring, and
Yeah.
she says it's on a need to know basis to Deacon, which
Yeah.
is another reason he feels left out. This
Yeah.
is really giving us all this
Yeah.
information.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's a intricate piece of clockwork for sure. I like how the final scene in the episode ends with Cassie and Cole meeting the witness in the church. I don't know, that setting just seems perfect for their real true first meeting where everybody knows who everybody is. And I just like how he goes, mother, father. That was just, I don't know why,
Yeah.
but it's just, there's just a gravity to it. There's just so much behind those words, the way he says it and delivers it. It's what the show is really crystallized for me is how intellectually we can know what the right path is, but how emotionally we can really stray off that path if because we're rationalized, we're doing the right thing here. It's really colored by our emotions, and I think that's a lesson that can be taken away from the show, and difficult to do, obviously, because you sort of need omniscient viewpoint, but should really take a step back sometimes and say, am I doing this because this is the right thing to do, or am I doing this because my feelings are telling me this is what I want? I really think the show's done an amazing job of that, and I can't believe that we're down to our last episode of season 3, which is The Witness, interestingly enough. And then the first episode of season 4 is called The End. It's going to be interesting to see. And I want to know why. Jesse said that they closed the loop off with Jennifer going back in time so she could grow up to be old. But I think there's more there for sure. And whatever she's going back there for beyond satisfying that one time loop, it's got to be interactions with the other characters, be it Cassie and Cole or maybe the witness himself. I'm really dying to watch the next episode to see what the first big conversation between the Cassie, Cole, and Ethan is, as well as I really want to see Ethan and Jennifer have a scene together, or scenes together, I hope, as well. Yeah, the show is well positioned for us to go forward, and I'm really looking forward to watching these next 2 episodes. And I see that the season 4 ends on a 2-parter, which we'll have to do as a separate episode on its own, I think.
Yeah, sure. I agree. Can I just want to mention that they've set up, and this is subtle, they've set up the fact that Cole can travel by thinking about things, really concentrating, using that T or whatever, that he doesn't need a time machine to go anywhere. He just needs a setup. And I think this really reminds me that maybe Jennifer and Ethan have a connection now, that they can talk.
Right.
And that would be interesting to see as well. I'm speculating on that, but
yeah. The other thing that the show is setting up for me is this is a cycle that somehow has to be broken. And I think that Cole is the one that has to break the cycle because he's at the center of the diagram.
Yep.
So that's important. And Ethan has this unique viewpoint because he's one of the few primers that not only has visions, but he's actually traveled to all these different timelines as well. So I wonder how, I just don't know how his role is going to play out in the series, but I love the fact now that we're conflicted about what's going forward with him as well, because now he's a character. He's not just a concept, and that's really cool.
Yeah. And Jennifer's done that as well.
Yeah.
She's traveled to a lot of different time periods as well. So I think it's really interesting to see their parallels as primaries.
All righty. I think that's everything I've got. So I'll go once around the horns, starting with you, Jesse. Any last thoughts? Something that you wanted to talk about that hasn't been mentioned yet? Now is your time.
I can't think of anything. I am wondering if we're going to get Ramsey another time.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, I wonder if it will. And I'm just really, I have to say this because I say it every week, how did I miss the show?
Mhm.
This
Same
is
here.
just really well done.
Or how did I not get into it quicker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I did watch the first few
Yeah.
episodes.
I think you mentioned before, Karen, that the network wasn't very kind to the show and it aired it
It was
in
not.
really weird things and
Yeah.
sometimes whole blocks of episodes and stuff like that. So most
Well,
unfortunate. Yeah.
and I do think this is one of those things where, like Fringe, I enjoyed, but it really found its rhythm later.
Yeah.
And I
Me
do
too,
think
yeah.
this is a show that it is found its rhythm as we go forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think it found it faster than
Most
yeah,
that.
I
I
do
definitely.
think
too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do
parts of
too.
season 1 were hitting on
Mhm.
all cylinders,
Yeah. Once we
but
got past the
Yeah.
initial
said,
ambivalence towards Cole, then
right.
it really
Yeah,
started
and
to
I do
click.
think, and also this is a Trojan horse to a certain degree, right?
Mhm.
Oh, this is a Terminator. We're going to go back. We're going to change the future. We change the past to save the future. All's
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
And we're like, nope, that's just what we did to get you started. And
Mhm.
now then it's so much more complicated than that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
has nothing to do with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so good.
just, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah,
Yeah. I think it's all going to come down to the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one.
Yep.
I think
or the
so.
few.
Yeah,
But how
I
they're going to
think you're
carry that
right.
off and make
I don't
a
know.
satisfactory ending for all these characters, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say the needs of the three.
Yeah.
Because Cassie, Cole, and Ethan, I think, fall into a little capsule group.
Yeah.
Because they want Ethan. Ethan wants time to go away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
All
Yeah.
righty. So there we go. One more episode in season 3. Hard to believe.
yay, I
But
can watch the next 2 episodes.
there you go. All right. With that, I want to thank both of you. Another great, fantastic discussion as usual. And to our listeners out there, I hope you enjoyed this as well. Jesse, if people want to find out more about you, where should they go?
You can find me at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter. You can hear me talk Doctor Who on Next Stop Everywhere and Set Listing Bruce, where I am talking a lot of music. As we release this is soon to be September, and September is a couple of special things. It is the 8th anniversary of Set Listing Bruce. 2015 is when I first put out my episode, and September is Bruce Springsteen's month. So I always try to do a couple of special things in September, so please check that out.
Cool. Karen.
Yeah, before I give out my stuff, I wanted to make sure to mention the fact that Aileen Sorkin died
Oh, yes,
yesterday.
please. So glad you.
As a nerd, her being the main voice of Harley Quinn over the years, I really loved her portrayal. She was a nerd as well. She read comic books. She really enjoyed her character. Also great on Duel, Days of Our Lives. That's where I knew her from first, and then she became Harley Quinn, and I was very excited. So it's quite a loss to the superhero community. Okay, now down to me. You can email us at jklb5podcast@gmail.com. Sorry, I'm spacing out. And I am at Elevaria on the various social medias. In the Twitter bio at that location, you can find a link to my blog, and you can find a bunch of other links there.
Cool. And you can find this podcast on YouTube at Lose Reviews, where we are also doing our Babylon 5 series review, as well as we have interviews with writers and Stephen King podcast. And on Twitter, I'm at Lou W. Sitzma. And with that, the tether that brings us together each week is going to snap once again, and we're going to fall back into our other existence. And I trust that my co-hosts will have a great week, as well as to you listeners as well. I hope you all have a great week, and may all your connections be the ones that you enjoy and treasure. And with that, I'll say good night and goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care.